payment, and important stuff that you need to know regarding these lectures that we are having from us. But however, during this course, I'm going to take you through lectures. I'm going also to take you through the assignment itself, showing you how you are going to write it, to structure. Remember, this is now a theoretical course. It's unlike statistical techniques, which was much more practical. This one is theoretical. So when you're doing your assignment, I'm going to show you what Mancosa expects your assignment to be, how you're supposed to, the layout that is the correct one that you're supposed to use, in terms of also citation and proper formatting of the document, so that you can maximize on the number of marks that you can get. However, today, remember, it's a free lecture. It's just to give you an overview of how we'll be conducting information management, right? Like I highlighted, this one is going to be much more of a theoretical course. So I've tried to make it a little bit interactive, trying to bring, pictorial illustrations, so that at least you can appreciate, right, information management from another view other than from the one that you are being given in your study module. All right, so like I highlighted last time, just feel free to engage. If maybe I'm explaining a certain concept that you don't really understand, just feel free to unmute yourself, or maybe to just write something within the chat box there. All right, so without wasting much of your time, today is not going to be a bit long, because remember, it's just an introductory lecture. What we're going to do, we are going to be doing the module, but in terms of questions, right? Rather than, going through the theory itself, I would be bringing questions related to a certain unit, right? So that we can attempt the unit, but using examples. Hello? Is that a question? Let me try to mute people here so that we don't have disturbances. Apologies for that, guys. All right, so please just unmute yourself if you have a contribution or maybe a question, right? So that okay, I think these are just people that are coming in now. All right, thank you so much. Okay, so what I was saying is, we will try to approach this module, right, rather than just going through theoretical stuff, right? We try to approach in such a way that we take a question, a past question, right, and then we try to attempt the units, but using questions that have been asked before by your lecturer, so that at least you can have an idea that, okay, so this unit, they might ask questions like this. This unit, they might ask a question like this. So I think this will be the best way for you guys to really grasp the concept. All right. So back to the slides. All right. So this course is information management. So it's IT related. That's what you need to know, right? It's IT related. So let's start by defining what is information management. So basically, in just a nutshell, information management is managing of information. It might sound a bit, awkward, but basically that's what it is. It's more like a person who's doing business management, right? They're managing a business. So information management, basically, there is information that comes in an organization. There is information that goes out of an organization. There's information also that is stored, right? So a company should be able to manage that information, because it can be information about customers, It can be information about competitors. It can be information about what is happening in the environment. Like remember, in other courses, I don't know which courses that you're going to do. Maybe I think economics, right? There's what they call external environment. There's what they call internal environment. So the company needs to know information around about the external environment, the political, the legal, and so forth, so that it is able to maximize, right, on maybe the profits, right, and minimize on the losses, right? So information management, now this course, it helps people to be able to manage that information within the company so that they can make informed decisions, right? So information management, according to the definition within the study guide, right, it is the process of collecting. So you have to collect, that's the first thing, to store, to manage, and maintain information in all its forms. So it comes in as raw information, you put it inside maybe storage systems, and then maybe you output it as reports or whatever form that you would want it at the end. So that information, when you collect it and when you maintain and use it in all those forms, that's what we call information management. So general information management, it covers the procedures and guidelines and organizations they adopt to manage and communicate information among different individuals. So generally you see that a company, it has to manage, it has to communicate that information to different individuals within the company, departments, stakeholders. We're not talking about stakeholders, we're talking about the shareholders, we're talking about even the customers, right? Because they are part of the shareholders there. So information management focuses on the level of control an organization have over the information it produces. So if a company, right, is not able to manage information, that's where you have what is called leaks. I know this is not maybe a talked about term in real companies, but you have had scenarios maybe in real people like Snowden, right, or Julian Assange, people who leaks information. The reason why they leak information is as a result of lack of control of an organization over the information that they have, right? So it is very, very important for a company to have control over the information that they have, so that the company can use that information to support business processes. All right. So now what you need to know is information management, this course, right? It centers around what is called information systems. That's why I was saying this course is IT related, right? So for the information, right, to be managed, there has to be tools that has to be used to manage that information. And the tools, the broad term of the tools used is what is called information systems. So information systems are IT-related infrastructures that are used to manage information. So generally, when we are talking about information management, we are circling around a term called information systems. That is why I'm starting by defining what information systems is. All right. So information system is a combination of hardware, software, telecommunication networks that people build and use for, remember, we said information management is collecting, storing, and processing data, right? So now information systems, you are using hardware, you are using software, you are using telecommunication networks to do information management. That's why we say they are used for collecting, storing, and processing data. So information systems are just used to manage the information itself. So when we're talking about hardware, remember, if you don't know much about IT, don't worry, because I'm going to take you through elementary stages, right? So that you guys who don't really have in-depth knowledge of these things, you will be able to understand. So when I'm talking about hardware components of an information system, think about your computer, right? So the hardware of a computer, talking about a mouse, right? Things that you see, things that you can touch, right? So your keyboard, your monitor, your laptop, your CPU, your motherboard, the chips, anything on a computer that you can see, right? Or touch, that is a hardware component of a computer. So it's part of information system. It's very, very, very important, right? Then we've got what we call software, right? I think let me zoom this in. When we're talking about the software now, that's your application. Now, when we go deeper into this, you will see that there are two types of what? Of softwares, right? We're going to talk about it. There's what we call system software. There's what we call application software. We're not talking about system software. We are talking about the operating system. Some of you have heard, hey, my computer uses Windows. Some they say my computer uses Linux. Some they say my computer uses Mac OS, right? If you are on phones, some people they use iOS, some people they use Android, some people they use you know, these various OSs that are coming up, right? So that is type of what we call software, but it is called system software because the system of the computer or the system of the gadget hangs on that. And then there's what we call application softwares, right? We're talking about your Google Store, we're talking about your Zoom, the one that we're using now. It's an application software, right? It's so your Google Chrome, you can see various types of what we call software here. So this one is an icon for Android. So this represents system software. Even this one for Apple. Let's see if there's another one that represents Windows. Yes, the Windows, they also represent or what do you call it? System software. Then the rest they are what? Applications. These are applications. So your PayPal, your Firefox, your Edge, and so forth, right? Now, then the third part of information system is what we call the telecommunications, right? When we're talking about the telecommunication, we're talking about the internet, right? For us to be able for you guys to be able to see me, right? Live streaming like this is because of the telecommunications, right? Networks. So without the internet, right? The term information systems will not be complete. Okay, let me try to mute someone here. All right. So it will not be complete. So that's what you need to understand, right? That is the basic definition of information systems. It's a combination of hardware, software, telecommunication in order to manage information. Basically, that's what we do. So you cannot manage information without information systems because the information systems are the tools that are used by companies to manage that information. All right. So business firms and other organizations, right, they rely on information systems to carry out and manage their operation, right? And also they interact with their customers and suppliers and compete in the marketplace. So generally, what this statement is saying there are various types of information systems that are used within a company. So having this knowledge that a company can only manage information through information systems, it does not mean that the company must have one information system, right, to manage all the information within the company. Now, normally what companies do, they will say this department, they have their own information system software. This other department, they have their own information system software. Like, for example, people in human resources, right? They can have what is called the Human Resources Information System, HRIS. The guys in management, in middle management, they have what is called the MIS, which is the Management Information Systems. Then the guys that are in marketing, they can have two types, right? Two types of information systems. They can have what is called the Marketing Information System, or they can have what is called the CRM. I think some of you guys, this term CRM is quite what do you call it, familiar, because I think most companies, they use CRMs nowadays, right? So CRM, it's a customer relationship management system that is used by the guys that are in what, maybe sales or in marketing, to interact with the customer. Then there's what they call CSM, Supply Chain Management System, right? Where they are dealing with suppliers And then maybe on the ground, the lower management guys, they use what is called the transaction processing system. So generally, that's what it means. They're just saying the business firm, right? They use different types of information systems, depending maybe with what that department is in. So for example, this is an example of an information system. It's called transaction processing system, right? So normally this is used by lower level managers, right? When basic transactions are being done for a business, right? So this is an information system that is used by the normal employees. So I'm seeing someone is saying best system for government payment. Yes, that might be another information system. So depending, so these information systems, it depends with what? With maybe the function of the organization, or the function of what? Of the department itself, right? You can even find that a company might actually find a software company where they can design their own system that has never been designed anywhere, in order just to fulfill the business requirements specifically for that company. So thank you so much for that contribution. All right. So another one is CRM. So CRM, that's your customer relationship management system, right? So this one now, it will monitor your SMS interaction, click to call, self-care. You remember, some of you guys, if you have a problem, let's say you bought a product, right, from Vodacom, excuse me, you bought maybe a line from Vodacom, or maybe let's say Rain, and you want to call the customer service, right? Some of you guys, when you call those guys, they will tell you, you hear more like an automated voice behind the scenes. Welcome to blah, 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 and so forth. That's a CRM in place, right? And then you are told, just keep on holding. One of our guys will get in touch with you, right? So those are like the information systems that these companies use, all right, to engage with the customer. I'm seeing someone also is talking about the SAP system. Yes, that's correct. SAP system also, that's part of information systems. All right. Now,
hello, Kuda.
Kuda. Yes.
Is this a general overview of the whole module, or is a specific a chapter within this module?
All right. So this is not a general overview. So these two slides now, they are just introducing like the module itself. But what we're going to do today, we are going to narrow down to a specific module, to a specific unit. All right. Soon after this introduction, I just want you guys to familiarize with the types of information systems. You will see that these information systems throughout the module, they will just talk about them here and there, right? So I want you guys.
All right, thank you.
All right, no, that's fine. So I just wanted you guys to have an idea of, when you are reading the module, when you see the word CRM, when you see the words transaction processing system, what is it, right? So it's just an overview. These two slides only, maybe for the whole module. Then later on, we are going to narrow down to a specific question. All right, like what we did instead. All right. So the other one, well-known information system is ERP. Right? So enterprise resource planning. I'm not going to explain this because they are actually explained in a separate unit. So it's actually a potential question that can come. They might ask you, describe five information systems. So information systems that you know, and describe how an organization can benefit from them. So these are just giving you an example. These are not all the information systems. There are so many information systems within your study module there. Now let's narrow down to a specific unit. Like I told you, the way that we want to do is we want to explain a certain unit, but we want to explain it in terms of questions so that you guys, you can appreciate how you're supposed to be answering that that question. So this question that I'm going to ask is on Unit 8, technologies and tools for protecting information resources. All right. So this was actually a question from I think it was this one. I think it was actually a past exam, right? So it goes like this: information and knowledge management systems, they are vulnerable to technical, 1, 2, organizational and environmental threats from internal and external sources. So what you need to understand here is they're just saying that the information systems that we're talking about, right? Generally, we're talking about the IT infrastructure, your softwares, your computers, anything that is IT related, right? They're saying it can be vulnerable to threats. So the threats can be technical, they can be organizational or environmental, right? And they can come from internal sources. If a person is like, angry with the company, they can leak some documents, right? So now the question is saying you need to provide a detailed report highlighting the technologies and tools to management for protecting a firm's information resources. So now we want to know the technologies that are used to protect now the company from these threats, right? Be it maybe internal sources or external sources like hackers, right? So now we need to first define, right, what these system vulnerabilities are, right? The threats themselves, right? So what you need to know is information systems, they are vulnerable to technical, organizational, and environmental threats. We are going to talk about these threats on a separate lecture, but to give you an overview, it includes viruses, it includes malware, it includes what they call ransomware, Trojan horses. There are so many threats that are out there, right? Most of you guys, I think most of us, the most popular threat is a hacker. You see, guys with hackers and so forth, right? Those are the threats, right, that can affect information systems. All right. So now managers at all levels, right, they have to make sure that there is security and reliability when it comes to protecting themselves from the threats that affect these information systems, right? So that they can protect. They can protect their what? They can protect their information. All right. Now, so let's have an overview of these technologies. So the first technology we are going to talk about is access control, right? I'm going to give you an example, don't worry. The second one is what we call a firewall. I will explain what it is. Encryption and public key infrastructure. Remember this, everything that I'm giving you is there in the study guide, right? So this is not information that is coming from anywhere else except from your study guide. Then intrusion detection system, an antivirus software, right? So now let's look at the first one, which is an access control. All right. So when we're talking about an access control, we're talking about a method which restricts access to sensitive data. You get it? So only those that have had their identities verified can access company data through an access control gateway, right? So at high level, access control is about restricting access to a resource, and any access control system, whether physical or logical, has 5 main components. All right. So when we are talking about access control, right, we are talking about people that have access to the information. That's why you see, when it comes to like the US government, right, you hear that they will say this information is top secret, right? This information is top secret. Only a person with access, we have what? Only person with clearance, right, who have access to the information. They're talking about access control there, right? So access control can actually be divided into two. It can be physical access or it can be logical access, right? So when we're talking about physical access control, we are talking about physically protecting. You need a physical entity to access the information. Like, for example, you come to find that maybe people that are in government, to access certain votes, to access certain buildings, they may need identity cards, right? They may need a card. They may need maybe to produce something, right? That is the physical access control. Logical access control now, we are talking about when you're logging in to your computer. First thing it asks you, what is your username? You write your username. What is your password? So it is a way of restricting access to information, right? Okay, so someone is actually saying that even here in South Africa, right, there is information that is classified as top secret, secret, and general, you see. So general, everyone can have access to it. But when it comes to secret and top secret, you need clearance, right? You actually now need clearance. So that clearance now, you may actually have to produce it in person, or it might be logical. That's basically what we're trying to say. So maybe for you, like, let me give you an example, right? There's this conspiracy theory that arises in US, that there's a base that is there, that contains alien technology, Area 51 and so forth. They'll tell you that people that can get there, not everyone can get there, right? But people that have got special access control, right? So if you don't have that access control, be it maybe physical or maybe logical, right, you will not be able to gain information regarding that. So let me give you examples of physical control there. So you can see that companies that may have votes, right, there might be companies that actually have votes, right? They've got maybe a secret chamber, that they've got maybe documents that are so sensitive, right? They actually have got votes with what? With locks that you need to put the correct combination for you to have access. Or sometimes you can just use a key. Lockers that have got key, or maybe people that use biometrics, right? Or use a card, or maybe use QR scanning, right? Or sometimes it has to be cameras to check. Or if the worst comes to the worst, you see a guard standing. You see a guard standing to make sure that that guard he allows people that are supposed to go in, that are authorized to go in. All right. Now let's go to logical access control. This one is very, very almost everyone here they use this, right? As long as you've got your phone, you've got your laptop, right? If you, or even going on Facebook, right? That is logical access control. You are using your username, you're using your password, right? So in corporate systems, it is important to ensure authentication methods that are in place so that unauthorized users can't gain access to the system or its data, right? So access can be granted in one of the three ways: something that you know, which is a password; something that you have, which is a token or a smart card; or something that you are, which is biometric, right? So get this, we are saying access control can be in three ways, right? It can be something that you know, which is your password. It can be something that you have, which is a token or smart card, or it can be something that you are, which is biometric. So let's look in detail some of these. So when I'm talking about tokens and smart cards, right? Generally, a token, it is a peripheral device which is used to gain access to an electronically restricted resource. Okay, a very good example of these security tokens nowadays, in your phone, there's an application, two applications. I think some of you guys, you know this. There's an application called Google Authenticator, right? And there's another one called Microsoft Authenticator, right? So what this does, you can actually link a Google Authenticator, right, with your Facebook, so that when you when you are putting in your username, right? And you put in your password, there's what is called a multi-factor authentication, another token that will be needed to make sure that it is you. So that token can be either physical, like in this, like this token here. It can be physical, or it can be in a phone, just like those Google Authenticator or Microsoft Authenticator, right? So that's what a token is. So a token, you are using it on top of username and password. So you're just making sure that the person that is logging in, right, it is purely them. It's not someone who has taken the login details from anywhere, right, and is trying to log in. Now, smart cards, right? This might be your credit cards, or this might be your identity cards, or maybe it can just be maybe a card that is maybe used by a company to have access to certain privileges. All right, now let's look at something that you are, which is biometrics, right? So when we're talking about biometrics, it is a method of establishing a person's identity based on chemical, behavioral, or physical attributes of that person. So now a person is gaining access because of maybe their chemical attribute, or their physical attribute, or maybe their behavioral attribute. So first of biometrics is what? The fingerprint scanning. I think you guys can see that nowadays your phones are getting so intelligent, right? That you are able to log in using fingerprint system. All right. And there is now another type of biometrics called vesicular biometric system, where you can use your hand, right? They can scan your hand, right? Or maybe your palm, right? So that you will be able to gain access, or what is called iris scanning. These are not things from the movies. Is actually happening in other organizations, right? You use your iris. The reason why they use your iris is more like your DNA, right? You can never have the same DNA with anyone in this world. You can never have the same fingerprints as anyone in this world, right? That's the same with the iris. The iris is also unique, all right? Then nowadays, there's what we call voice authentication, right? Advanced system, right? So maybe, I don't know if the iPhones do that, maybe if they are able to recognize your voice, right? So it is an AI that is able to pick up that, okay, this is Kuda's voice, right? So when I talk to it, it gives me access to what? To information that I want, right? But if it is not my voice, then it will not be able to do that. Now, these biometrics now, they are now in your pocket, like what I was saying, right? You know, smartphones now, you can do authentication using a fingerprint or face recognition or even speech recognition, right? So this is access control. Now let's look at another tool that is used to mitigate these threats. There's what we call a firewall, right? So a firewall, generally, it is a network security system that monitors and control incoming and outgoing network traffic, right? Based on certain security rules. So basically what it does, it puts a barrier between incoming and outgoing network. Let me explain this using this video here. Most of you guys, you may actually understand this concept, but maybe you didn't know that it was a firewall in play, right? So what it does, let's say you are at your company, right? So your company is using this private, maybe network, right? And then this is the internet, all right? So you are at work, and then maybe you're a new employee, right? And then you want to log in to Facebook while you are working. Then you find yourself not able to log in to Facebook, all right? But then you go on Google, you are able to Google. You go on maybe news websites, you are able to go news websites, but you go back to Facebook, but you find yourself you're not able to log in. It's giving you an error. What is happening there is the use of a firewall. So what a firewall does is it's a set of rules that say if a person is using this network of the company, if they want to use Facebook, please don't allow them to go to the Facebook website. However, if it is another website which is not Facebook, allow them to go. So this firewall now, that's the reason why it's called a firewall. It can allow traffic through, or it can stop traffic to come in or to go out. So that's what it is used now. So there are also software firewalls. I think some of you guys, when you're using your Windows laptop, I think you have seen this thing pop up sometime, right? It is a software firewall that is within your laptop that protects you from maybe certain sites that may want to have access maybe on your phone, on your laptop, right? But most companies, they use hardware firewalls, you know, the Cisco products, right? I think most companies, they use Cisco products, you know, Cisco switches, you know, Cisco routers and so forth, right? So these devices, Cisco also, they have what we call hardware firewall, right? Where maybe the IT department, those guys, the ones that have the servers, they will have a firewall there, and then they will put the physical rules, they will put the rules in the hardware firewall so that everyone that wants to go on Facebook is not able to go. They will be using this device here that is called a firewall. All right, now let's look at what is called an intrusion detection system. All right, so an intrusion detection system, right? It is a system that will that monitors your traffic, right, on networks and through systems to search for suspicious activity and known threats. Let me give a very practical example. An intrusion detection system, right? It's more like a house, right? That is windows and doors, right? And then you make sure that every window and every door, you are monitoring it so that anything that goes out or comes in, you will be able to see. That's what an intrusion detection system is. So it monitors everything in your system, right? It monitors everything for suspicious activity so that once a threat is picked up, right, you will receive an alert message that tells you that there's something wrong. So normally, what companies do, this is the internet, right? Then they put the router. Router is the one that connects your company to the internet, right? So, but this one does not have protection. We don't want to go deep into IT, but a router alone, if a company is to buy a Cisco router, it does not have protection. I'm not so sure now if they've managed to maybe advance it, but generally a router does not have what what do you call it, a protection system, right? So what they do is after the router, they put the firewall. But just to make sure that nothing, if there's something that goes through, maybe there's an advanced hacker that manages to go through the firewall, then the ITS now, right? The intrusion detection system will be able to pick it up, right? It will make sure that whatever passes through the firewall, it is managed to be picked up by the IDS. So generally, that is how this set up work. All right. So let's look at an antivirus and an anti-spyware software, right? So I think this is very, very, very popular because each and every one of us, we are using laptops, right? And on our laptops, you will never buy a laptop that does not have an antivirus, right? Default, you find McAfee. You know that, you know, those funny, you know, antiviruses that will be there, but they will be for free. When it expires, it will want you to pay for them, right? But those are antiviruses, those are anti-spyware. What they do is they protect your computer from malicious activities. Maybe let's say someone gives you a flash that is infected with the virus, Or maybe they can protect you from a hacker that wants to access your bank details, your bank account, right? So that they can make an online payment, right? So your antivirus and anti-spyware, they are used for that. All right. So I think most of you guys, you have seen some of these antiviruses, right? AVG, Avast, this one, McAfee. Almost every new laptop has this one, right? Bitdefender, Norton, right? But obviously, in a market, there has to be, a giant, right? One that I prefer mostly is Bitdefender, because this one has been tried and tested. These other ones, Avast, AVG, yeah, they try, but Bitdefender is the one that is leading the market. So this is an example, right, of the Bitdefender, what do you call it, antivirus software, right? So these are examples of antiviruses. Then there's what we call a unified threat management system. So generally, when we are talking about UTM, it's more like a hybrid appliance. Why am I saying it's a hybrid appliance? Instead of you maybe buying a firewall separately, an IDS separately, a router, you remember that this diagram that I showed you, right? Let me show you. Instead of maybe buying these three separate what do you call it, appliances, right? You can just buy one which can do all of these three. So that one appliance is called a unified threat management system. That's why it's called unified, because there is a uniting of what, of appliances into one gadget, right? So like, for example, here you can see that UTM, it can act as a firewall. At the same time, it can act as an anti-spam filtering. It can act as an IPS, a bandwidth management, web security, routing capabilities, anti-spyware, VPN. So all these separate, gadgets are all combined in one gadget called a unified threat system. So it also helps to protect information systems from vulnerabilities, right? So that the information of the company does not leak. Now let's look at what is called encryption and public key infrastructure, right? So now this one is.
Before you continue, can you please explain the UTM? Just a summary of the UTM. How would you define it again, please?
Okay, so a UTM, like I was saying, it is like a combination, right? It is a combination of like an example here. It is a combination of an antivirus, an anti-spyware, anti-spam, network firewalling, intrusion detection system, all these appliances in one gadget. So normally what companies do, they'll buy a separate antivirus, right? And then they'll buy a separate firewall. They will buy a separate intrusion detection system. They'll buy maybe a separate router. And then they make a setup of all these things to make sure that the network of the company is secure, right? But maybe the company does not want to buy all these different appliances on their own, right? What they just do is they just buy one gadget, which is now called the UTM. The UTM now, it will act as the antivirus, it will act as the firewall, it will act as the intrusion detection system. So maybe let's say the company is actually saved on some money. They didn't want maybe to fork out a lot of money to buy a lot of gadgets that secure them. Then now they'll just buy one gadget that does all this stuff together. I hope you did get that one.
Thank you.
All right. So now let's look at encryption. Now this one is very, very important because it involves that's where the issue of maybe payment of goods online comes under, right? Under this encryption. So we are saying most people, they are reluctant. The reason why most people are reluctant to buy or sell things online is because they are afraid of theft. fraud, and interception of transactions, right? So now to help ease the mind and make transactions secure, many companies are using very sophisticated methods of protecting data as they travel across the various transmission mediums through the use of what is called encryption. I think most of you guys, you have seen on your WhatsApp, when you're using message, when you're writing message, they say, yeah, this you have enabled end-to-end encryption. I think you have seen that message, right, on WhatsApp. What basically they are saying is, when I'm sending someone a message, right, and if there's someone in the middle, they call it a man in the middle attack, right? It's actually a term in IT, a hacker. There are people that are actually waiting for people to talk, right? So let's say there's a man in the middle who wants to see the conversation that I'm talking with this other person, right? So I write a message, maybe let's say WhatsApp was not using end-to-end encryption, right? I would write a message, say hello, right? This person would see it as it is, right? And then said, oh, so this is the message that could I send it to this person? So this person is more like he's spying on, right? Now, when there's end-to-end encryption, when I say hello, when it is going to that person, right? It is encrypted in such a way that the person will need something to decrypt it, right? Encrypted means you are writing in a way that it cannot be read, right? You are writing it in a coded way, right? So that no one can read it. The person that will read it will need a key to unlock it and be able to read that. So that's what is encryption. It's more like they are trying to say whatever information is being sent is not read in the middle. The person that is supposed to read it is the one that will get the message at the end. So what is happening now? There are standards that are used now, especially online, for making this encryption. So they call them SSL, secure socket layers, or maybe TLS, which is transport layer security, right? Or what is well known as HTTPS, which is hypertext transport protocol. Okay, so let me show you where this thing is very, very important, right? When you are making an online payment, this is a tip, which is also part of this module that we are learning now, right? When you are making an online payment, let's say, right, you want to pay using PayPal, right? Now, can you see something? When you go to certain websites, have you ever seen, like, on the address bar, you find something like not secure, right? Or you find a lock when you go on the address bar. Try to do it maybe when you go and take a lot, right? Take a lot, or which is yeah, let me say take a lot for now, because I know that one is very secure, right? So you can go and take a lot, or even Amazon, right? When you click the take a lot website on a computer, right? I'm not so sure if on a laptop or on a phone, if you are able to say that, but on a computer, you will see that before this HTTP, there will be this lock here. It shows that there is encryption. How do you know? This is where this title comes in: HTTP versus HTTPS. So when a website is only written HTTP www.example.com, if it doesn't have an S there, it means that it is not secure. What it means is, if that website, they ask you for your banking details, anyone, even a hacker, is able to get a hold of your online details, right? Or of your banking details. So never ever put your online banking details on a website that is only written HTTP. without an S there, because it is not secure. There is no encryption. It means if there's a man in the middle, he is able to take your what? To take your what? Your banking details. I know of this other story, right? Of a person, I think they went to Dubai, right? They wanted to book a house, you know, this Airbnb, right? So what this man in the middle did is they created a website similar to Airbnb, right? But they didn't make it secure because they wanted that once the person puts in the banking details, they're able to see it, and then they will withdraw the money, right? So you just have to make sure that the website is what the website is. It has an HTTPS here to make sure that it is secure. You can actually see on PayPal, example of PayPal there. If you just type PayPal, right, you can see HTTPS, right? It means that it is secure, right? So what I was trying to tell you, that when you go on what, if you go on the website, right, if it is secure, you can see this lock here, right? Once you go on the website, if you want to do online payment, just make sure that it is HTTPS, or maybe it does have this lock there. So these are the various types of technologies and tools that are used for protecting the company from vulnerabilities or from external threats, right? So thank you so much for tuning in. So this was just an intro, like what I said. Let me try to. So we've come at the end of the lecture. So like I highlighted, what we'll be doing from the next lectures is what we did now. You saw that this was actually a question that I took from somewhere, and then I had to explain to you how you would answer it, right? The things that your lecturer will be expecting to see within that essay, right? And maybe explain in detail what it will mean. So thank you so much, guys, for your time. I'm not so sure if there are any questions before we close this session. Yes.
Yes. I only saw of firewalls with everything that you have explained in Unit 8. I only saw of firewalls, or maybe I was expecting it to be in a point form. But as you say that you are going to do it again in another class. Yes.
Yeah.
So I wanted to find out, will this module be will the exam be multiple choice or otherwise?
No, the multiple choice is only your, I think last semester you're doing economics, right? Economics, there was multiple choice.
Yeah.
This semester you have it on statistical techniques. Those are the only two modules you will have multiple choice. The rest, they are theories.
All right.
Yes. Okay. So don't worry. Sometimes the reason why I'm trying to use also questions, right? Your lecturers, they've got this habit. They've got this habit that they will tell you, they will ask you things that might not be in the what? In the study guide. But this one is there. I will show you. I will show you. I think what I'll do is when we start the lectures, I will first show you the study guide, right? That this is where you get it, and then we answer. Sometimes in your study guide, it's not that detailed, right? That's why sometimes we would want to give more flesh and so forth, and try maybe like this example that I was giving you, so that you guys you can see that this is an everyday thing that we meet, right? It's not like you're only learning for school, but you're also equipping yourself. So we'll try to make it a bit you can visualize it, even if when it comes to the exam, because it would have sticked, right? You are able to record it easily.
All right,
so
thank you.
All right, no, that's fine. So I'll try by all means to make sure that from next week I'll show you where it will be in the study guide before we attempt the lectures. Is there another question before we close the session?
Just a confirmation. So today we were doing Unit 8, so that if one goes through it.
Yes, yeah, it should be Unit 8. It might not be the whole of it, but there's a section in Unit 8 that is talking about this, the technologies and the tools.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. All right. So I think maybe there are no more questions. So guys, thank you so much for your time and your patience. We'll see you. I heard James was saying tomorrow we are meeting for statistical techniques, right? So tomorrow, if he confirms, we'll meet you for another free lesson for stats, right? And then we'll continue from there. So have a lovely evening. Meet next time.
Thank you, sir. Good night.
Okay, good night.
Thank you, Kuda.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. I'm seeing someone saying, please share the contact for those that are coming for the first time. Just get a hold
Thank you,
of
bye.
James. Okay, no, that's fine. Can someone just share the contacts of James in the group, ne? For the new guys?